More and more these days, it's important to teach young people about where their food comes from. They need to know how it's produced, how it's bought and sold, how it's cooked and eaten. And it's important for them to meet the people who are involved in all the different parts of the food chain. It's all part of being a citizen in a modern society. We've made this video to show you some of the examples of food and farming projects that are taking place in schools and colleges around Wales now. Do you think children understand where food comes from?
I would like to think that they would, but the thing is, I don't think it is always the case, I don't think. You know, like having a look at like television programmes, some of the children don't know where the food is from.
They are learning more, but I think they are of a supermarket culture, aren't they? And food often turns, if we get it delivered, it just turns up at the door, everything very packaged. So it is hard for children, I think, to learn where food comes from.
I think we have to make that understanding and make the connections for them, because we live in such a world where everything's manufactured and produced, and it's a matter of going to the supermarket to buy it, when the reality is it's growing around us in the fields and through the livestock that we have here. So we take them out and show them the real world.
I try to work out where the food comes from, where the ingredients that I put in comes from. Sometimes we don't like buy eggs because we've got loads at home, so we use our eggs from our chickens.
Obviously the canteen itself, eating in the school, but it's far bigger than just eating in the canteen, which is a social occasion as well as giving them fuel for the day. The curriculum here is very much focused on food production, because we live in a rural community and the children must understand what their community is about. So we've had people with us food mapping so that we know where food has come from, the values that we have in food, even down to the economics of it and the economics of the local area. So we approach it from a holistic curriculum point of view. It's really important to us. No school can operate on its own. We use lots of different agencies, the Soil Association, we use our own people from within the local authority to come and educate. We have local farmers in food cooperatives, and the list is inexhaustible really. You could go on forever. We can't do it on our own. We have lots of different people to help us, and that's really important.
So Sue, why do you want to have school visits on your farm?
Well, for a start, it's great fun. It's just delightful to have curious, interested, cheerful children asking all sorts of what they might think are quite simple questions, but really make you think about what you're doing here. So that's a real pleasure. It's great fun and it's a real pleasure. But I think it's also important for me to help children understand a bit more about where their food comes from and the different ways that people farm to produce that food.
What do you think they're learning from this visit to the farm this morning?
Absolutely loads they're learning today. I mean, firstly, the animals they've met already. A lot of them would never have definitely not seen them up so closely. To learn the stories about them, how they're looked after on the farm, the difference between an organic farm and maybe a more intensive farm. That was just fantastic. They just love it, don't they? They just love being outside, and they don't think they're learning. Because they haven't got a pen in their hand and they're not sat in their desks, they don't realise that they're actually learning.
As the old saying goes, children learn from doing, and the experiences become real for them. It gives them an understanding of why they're learning, that this is the real world, this is a job that I could possibly be working in the future. I think it motivates, and it does give learning that relevance and a real meaning.
And Harry, why do you think it's important to meet farmers?
It's important to meet farmers because you can learn about the animals and how they grow.
Yes.
And then learn what to feed them, and learn how to water them, keep them safe and protected from predators like foxes.
What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that there's not just like one type of tree, there's lots of types of tree. And they try and grow like natural stuff, like don't put like spray on to make it like grows proper and stuff like that. They just let it grow slowly.
And on the Truly farm, they actually make sausages, don't they?
Yeah, we made some sausages. We had 2 groups, and one made sausages and one went to see the animals. And we saw, and her son had a 5-horned ram. Yeah, and she said not to go too close to them because they could butt you and then you could and because she said not to touch them. My teacher showed us how animals are ill. She mostly showed us about the sheep, how they're ill. Well, they don't normally they stick their tongue out when they're ill, they go like this. Yeah, and but they don't do it when they're happy. And that's like a sign for the farmer to know that they're ill.
A visit to a farm can be an unforgettable experience for a school child. But it's also important that they get a hands-on experience of food. And one way that happens is that most schools have gardens, and many of them will give children an opportunity to grow food. Here we're going to look at an example of a school which has been growing its own food, and they also held a farmers market with some help from the Soil Association so that the children were able to sell their produce directly to the public and learn a bit about the commercial aspects of food growing.
Each class has turned themselves into a business for a week, so we've collapsed the curriculum. Every class has decided what they're going to make or grow or sell, and they've had this week really to turn themselves into production, into sort of advertising, and throughout the school every class, every child's been involved in that, and we're culminating today with a farmers market where we're going to sell that produce, sell those goods to parents, friends and carers. Because a lot of the stuff we've been producing for our farmers market has been grown on site. So we have a polytunnel in our school, we have raised beds, so the children have planted the, if you like, the plants and the potatoes and the carrots and whatever else they're going to sell. They've grown it, and today they're going to be selling it to their parents.
Can I have a coriander? Which one should I have?
Yeah, I think it's important that children know about growing plants and where food comes from, and I think this sort of event is a useful way for the children to learn about, as well as that aspect, also the enterprise side of it, in terms of not just about growing, but what that means, how much food costs, what you have to pay to buy the food that goes on the table and that you eat every day. So yeah, I think it's a good event to have.
Well, it's been a fantastic day, well supported by parents and carers, as we always are. The children have really enjoyed it. We've sold out pretty much everything we wanted to. The ice cream and the squash went brilliantly, and it was Organic Centre Wales. A big thank you to them for helping us set this up and supporting us in our efforts. Thank you.
It's great to see all these food experiences taking place in schools and colleges. But perhaps the ultimate food experience is actually eating it. So it's really important to look at what we're serving young people in the canteens. We've been working with the Soil Association to promote their catering mark. This accredits the kitchens for serving locally sourced food that's ethically traded, maybe organically produced, to high standards of animal welfare. This means that the food that the children eat in the canteens and the educational messages they're getting in the classroom and outside all match up. And it helps stimulate the local economy and develop a sustainable food nation.
Do you think it's important to have local food?
Well, I think it is important, because the thing is, if you have like local farmers and things like that, then they can supply the schools with local produce, and I think it's better for the farmers and it's better for the schools as well.
So my name's Louise Goldingay. I'm the catering manager here at the University of South Wales. I've been with the organisation for almost 3 years now, and over the last 12 months we decided that it was a time where we needed to look at achieving the Food for Life accreditation, that we were already doing a lot of good practices within our department, but we weren't necessarily documenting them, and therefore by doing so we achieved the accreditation quite easily. We work together with the other Welsh universities. We do a lot of work regionally. We've engaged a lot of our suppliers, and we purchase more local food from Wales than we ever have before. We ensure that all of our meat is farm assured meat, so when things are going on like the horse scandal earlier in the year, we knew we had nothing to worry about. We ensure that we are purchasing all free range eggs, that our fish is all from MSC fish to eat lists, and that we're using a lot more seasonal vegetables. We work really closely with the grounds department. The gardeners are great. They bring us up vegetables from the allotment, usually on a daily basis, and we never know what we're going to have, but the chefs like getting creative and using that within the cold salad bars, but also the hot food counter. We purchase our eggs locally in Abergavenny. They're all free-range eggs, and when we've used them, we give Mike the shells. And
we use the eggshells. We grind them up and put them on the allotment. They're great for keeping slugs from around the plants, and obviously they break down and calcium back into the soil, etc. We use those, but we also collect from catering the grounds, coffee grounds, and we put those into our composters, which are great for keeping ants. They're fantastic coffee grounds for keeping ants away, and it breaks down in the compost heaps. Obviously we use all the green waste and some paper, shredded paper, etc. in the composters. It converts it to a soil improver, which then we put back into the allotments and use it on the flower beds throughout the university.
Now that we've achieved our bronze award, obviously the options are there for us to move towards silver and even gold in the future. It does mean that we have to buy a lot more organic produce, and really it's been the engagement with our suppliers and them being aware that it's the organic produce that we are actually after, and enough of it locally produced to service the university.
It's been a great idea to promote sort of sustainable food for the university and raise awareness amongst all the staff and students. It's been a great project, and a lot of the staff on site have been made aware of the allotments and what we're doing, and they've shown a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, they got really actively involved in the allotments and growing their own food and taking it home and eating it. But for me, it's all about increasing sustainability and the environmental agenda across the whole university. I feel that we as a university should really be promoting environmentalism and sustainability, because it's just really important for everybody. And I think, our students are going to go out there and hopefully be advocates of the sustainability agenda too, and then, go on from there in their jobs and their futures.